As you've seen the title, you already know what this video is about. This is probably going to be one of the hardest videos I'm going to talk about. And I tend to make jokes or make lighter stuff because that's just the way I personally cope with the world. I'm going to try to not do that since this is a very sensitive topic. I don't want it to seem like I'm not serious about it. So I will try my best. And by the way, if you actually don't think this man committed any crime, get off my channel. Okay, right now, just get off. The fact that some of y'all can look at this face and think he's innocent is wild to me. When I look into the eyes of this person, it does not look like a human. I said it, I don't care. From this documentary, I realized there are a lot of demons wearing human skin. And for some reason, the world exalts them. I don't know why. I didn't make the rules, but we're gonna jump in. We already knew about, well, at least I already knew, and I have no doubt in my mind that he did it. The stuff that happened in court, I knew about the case, about how he's just a vile, disgusting demon. I don't even want to refer to him as a being. I'm sorry, yes, I am like that. But I already knew he was vile and disgusting. And now the documentary kind of shed some light on his childhood. So this is what this video is mainly going to be focused on. That was a messy intro, so we're just going to jump in. What jolts you awake? What keeps you up? Hey, touch me if you can. Hello and welcome to Life Lessons and Confession, the channel where we figure out our power by figuring out ourselves. So today I am going to do a small, more deep dive analysis of the Sean Combs Reckoning documentary that is now showing on Netflix. This isn't a review of the documentary. This is mostly a video that's going to focus on his childhood and how this monster came to be. I believe he's a monster. Again, if you don't, get off my channel. You can't sit with us! This is not the place for you. I'm sorry. And I'm going to tie it in with my archetypal series where I do an analysis and a deep dive of 8 common archetypes that I believe exist in the world, which is a combination of nurture, our environment, how the environment affects us, and our nature. And I do believe infants, babies, Google Gaga, when they first come out the womb, they do have an innate sense of self to them. If you've ever been around a lot of kids, you will know even when they're babies, they act a certain way. All babies do not act the same way. Some are a little more jovial or they're a little more quiet. So I do believe even in infancy, we already have a somewhat sense of self. And our nurture or our environment either magnifies that sense of self or diminishes that sense of self, meaning either you're praised for acting the way you act or it is diminished. And sometimes it's not always like you're all the way praised or all the way diminished. It will be maybe some characteristics of yourselves are praised whereas others are not. That's what usually happens. But then there are also those times where who you feel you are on the inside just does not match your environment at all. And during those time periods, something's got to give. Either the self has to give or the environment has to give. I'm going to jump in to the Diddy case and mostly focus on his childhood. I kind of don't want to go into the crimes because it's a lot. It was a lot for me to stomach, okay? Even though I do make lighter stuff, I cannot make light of that. It's a lot for me to stomach. So I'm not going to go into the crimes. I'm just going to focus on his childhood and how I could see how he turned into a monster. If you saw the documentary or didn't see the documentary, he was raised by a single mother. His father passed away when he was young. He didn't get to know his dad. And his family seemed to be doing well off. They had parties where they had these influential people come to their house. So at a young age, this young man is introduced to this life of glitz and glam, which I don't think a lot of children are introduced to at a young age. And it does seem like his family had money. They had a really nice house. His mother was driving a Cadillac at that time. I'm pretty sure Cadillacs were expensive. Heck, they're still expensive today. But you can just imagine at that time she's driving a Cadillac. She's running around town, leaving her car on with 2 kids in the backseat. No one is targeting her. Basically, no one is robbing her. So it does scream influence and power. But I think this is due to the influence his father had on the community. And I think his father may have been a thug or something like that. I don't know. Let's just say his father was very influential in the community. When you look at pictures of when he was a child, you will see him in these really nice clothes, like really well put together. This is where I'm going to start speculating and giving my opinion. This is an opinion channel. He looked around town. Everyone respected his mother because at this time, his mother is the only one alive. Everyone respects his mother. He's wearing all these nice clothes. But when he moves around his peers, because of the way he looks, he did kind of look like a funny looking kid, all right? And usually I would not say that if the person is a nice person, but he's a crappy human being. We all had our funny looking kid stage, and he did look like a funny looking kid. So the kids were being mean to him, as kids tend to be when you do not fit the standard. This is me speculating. The man is a monster. And this is by no means excusing what he did. But I can understand where this disconnect may come from. When you're around your family member, like your mother, you have this influence, you have this power, you have this money, but it's really your parents' money, or in this case, his mother's money, not his. As himself, as just a kid amongst his peers, he's at the bottom of the totem pole. Does that make sense? With his family, with his mother specifically, because it was just his mother, he's at the top of the totem pole because of the influence his parents had in the community. Whereas with his peers, when he's by himself, he's at the bottom of the totem pole. And I think this disconnect between who he is supposed to be, you know, as this influential family, and who he is basically what has built a monster. It's basically what has made him be power hungry and basically just think he should do whatever he need to be on this level. And this level of influence and affluence and authority is one of the archetypes that I call the king archetype or queen archetype. It depends. And it is an archetype of power and control. I literally, click on the eye if you're interested. I literally have a video about it where I break down this archetype. And a lot of people look up to these people because they have a very disciplined mind and they're willing to do whatever is necessary to attain their goal. Obviously, people who have this archetype don't always turn to a life of crime. All right, they are willing to bend the rules a little bit, but most of them don't go to the lens of unaliving someone or violent threats. Right, they may just be headstrong at best. The nurturing of this archetype does tend to come about in influential families. So think like big conglomerate people, or in olden days kings and queens, where they build up their offsprings to be a mini them and someone to pass on the legacy to. This archetype, like every other archetype, is dual and it is balanced. As disciplined and as headstrong as they are also the type of people who they will protect their own group. It is a very us versus them mentality. And when you deal with someone who has this archetype, usually it is better for you to be on the in crowd. They usually, because in the case of Diddy, clearly he did not do that. They would take care of their own people. They have a sense of loyalty and dedication to those people, and they are willing to defend their people against another group, which is what makes their followers, underlings, whatever you want to call them, really revere this person as the leader, as the king, as whatever you want to call it. And in the case of this archetype, they also tend to be popular. Like, this is a popular kid in high school or middle school or elementary school. And I think for him, because he was such a funny looking kid, there was no way he was going to be popular, regardless of how he styled himself or hap in the essence of what this power is and went about it through manipulation, through lies, through deceit, and basically become the Shadow King, which is the dark side of this archetype, which is so unfortunate because I think he actually has the essence of being the powerful leader, whatever he wants to be. I mean, Some people might say he is powerful. When I look at this man, I don't see power. I see a coward. I see a coward. I see an immature loser. I see nothing beyond that, which is why it's so wild to me that he has followers. I don't understand y'all at all. But then again, if y'all think he's innocent, I am not gonna lie. I am questioning your humanity because there's none here. But I think had he gone about it the right way, because at the end of the day, yes, we cannot control external stuff, but life is a series of decisions and we make those decisions. Whether you want to justify it or not, it is your choice. I think had he gone about it the right way, he would have actually attained exactly what he wanted to without turning into a freaking monster. But even saying that, I think you can admit he had great ideas. Like, I did not know he marketed Jodeci and Mary J. Blige. I didn't know that. It actually makes sense because people who do possess this archetype, this energy of power and control, they have a talent for recruiting talent. All right. They have a talent for knowing, hypothetically, who needs to be in the court, who has this particular talent that they can, for lack of a better term, use for their own benefit. So I'm not surprised he was a great marketer. I'm not surprised he was a great producer. And he had an awesome mentor in Andre. So even though I talk about the disconnect of childhood and how his peers did not receive him, I'm still like, but you had chances. In childhood, I understand. He felt he had this ambitious nature and he felt like he needed to be someone, but among his peers, he was a loser. And that's where the disconnect may have started. After he dropped out of Howard to follow his music career, became this marketer, this producer at a very young age, I don't know, because this is actually the path that a lot of people who have this archetype take, where they have this ambitious nature, they're not accepted by the world, and now they tend to prove everybody wrong. Although I understand where it may have stemmed from, I'm just like, how did it get so dark? Because that's the part where I still don't completely understand. You have a mentor. You have people around you who want the best for you. They see your vision. They are backing you up, which a lot of people do not have. And you have produced these phenomenal groups in the hip-hop scene, such as Jodeci, Mary J. Blige. Like, now that I said that, I'm just like, obviously this is stemming from greed. This is stemming from it's never going to be enough. It's just this insatiable hunger for power and control. That's where it stems from. But it's like, he's not the first person to go down this path. So how did it turn so dark? The two archetypes I think Diddy has is the king archetype and the charmer archetype. And the charmer archetype is the entertainer, the showman. This is the archetype of actors and con men. I've already talked about it in nauseam. Summary about this archetype: it is an archetype of transformation, taking on different roles, taking on different ideas. It works well on screen when you embody a character, but also when you're trying to play your con on someone. It's just how this archetype manifests, and like any other archetype, it has a dual nature of pros and cons. Just because you have this archetype does not mean you naturally just fall into, you're going to manipulate people. Like, you can be a really well-known actor and do well in your field and have this archetype, or you can also be a con man. So just think of duality, just think of balance. This is just energy, and it can be used for both good and bad. But it's just like looking at the documentary and what was presented, I'm just like, I still don't understand how it turned so bad. Because given his childhood, he was exposed to lavish parties, glitz and glam, and at a young age that can make a kid believe this is how the world should be. He did try to replicate those same parties he was exposed to at a young age when he became much older. And unfortunately, he didn't just stop at the parties. He also replicated some of the activities of influential men in his community used to do, such as, so disgusting, I do want to preface, this is gross, this is nasty, ill, I don't even want to talk about it, such as essaying women, videoing it, and blackmailing. And I can kind of think how this is due to him believing he's supposed to be a certain way because of his family's influence, and that not translating to his peers. So now he needs to make a name for himself, which classic king archetype journey. But I still don't understand how it got so dark. Like, please comment in the section for me. I don't know if I missed something from the documentary. I don't know if I'm not explaining myself right, but it's just like, he's not the only person who's gone through this. So how did it get so dark? You can say it was the environment. There's a lot of pew, pew, pew. There's a lot of, illegal substances. But he's not the only one. How did it get so dark? I don't know. I don't understand. Like, was he just a bad person? From this documentary, I'm just like, are people just born bad? Is that what this is telling me? Because I don't understand it. Even though they try to tie the charity event where people lost their lives as the turning point, I'm still like, he's not the only one this has happened to. He's not the first. He's not going to be the last who have felt like their environment does not reflect them. They have this ambitious nature where they just have this drive to put their name down in history. But other people don't turn dark. So why do you turn dark? That's where my brain is just, I don't understand. And even after I've educated myself on this archetype and kind of know the trajectory of what each archetype follows, I'm still like, nowhere in his journey, or at least what was presented in the documentary, nowhere in that journey does it reflect you are going to go to the dark side. And I already said, I'm just going to focus on the childhood. I don't want to delve into the DV stuff, the victim stuff. For me, it is real. I believe every single one of those women, when they say he has done that, I believe every single one of those men, when they said what he has done. And even like talking about this energy of power and control, like I said, it's not necessarily a good thing or bad thing. It's a thing. I can understand how he did not match with Tupac, because Tupac, judging from the energy, his energy and the way he carried himself and what his lyrics entail, it's obvious he has the hermit archetype and the artist archetype. And the artist archetype is self-explanatory. This is the poet, the songwriter. They wear their hearts on their sleeves and they put their heart in whatever they create. They can be sculptures, little painters. They put everything in what they create. And the hermit archetype, although it is called hermit, it is just a very introspective person. So these are people at a young age, they're even called old souls. Because even as kids, they're very introspective and very observant of the world around them. Diddy's fake. Tupac is not. Real recognizes real, and real knows you fake. So nothing that would have came out of Diddy's mouth would have sounded real to someone like Tupac, who has an energy that is very introspective. Or at least that's how it looks like. I don't want to go into detail about what he's been accused of, because just because you're introspective in energy does not mean it erases any crime or criminal activities you may or may not have participated in. Just looking at him, seeing his demeanor and seeing the way he carried himself in his songs, I was just like, this is a very introspective man. I can understand why he's not going to mesh well with someone who has the king archetype. If you look at my archetypal wheel, they're literally on opposite ends. Like, they are an opposite energy, because the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, values balance. I wasn't surprised they didn't match. I'm not surprised he may have allegedly had a hand in that man's demise, even though he keeps denying it. It's like a 5-year-old can see it, but okay, sure. You had nothing to do with it, right? And I'm also not surprised Biggie felt closer to Pac than he did Diddy, because the thing about men who have king archetype is they're so controlling and domineering. And this also includes those who have this archetype and they are functioning in the light side of this archetype. They don't think people know they are controlling, or they don't think people know they think of them as tools. Just something I'm just like, it's so obvious to everyone else. You just see them as useful and not useful. Yet to you, you don't think you come across like that. That's kind of bizarre. That's kind of weird. This video is everywhere. By the way, I said I'm not surprised Biggie got along with Pac, is because Biggie also has that same artist archetype that Tupac had. So they did connect in that energy. That's why I'm like, I'm not surprised they got along. I feel like this documentary is just telling me, girl, some people are just born evil and there's no way to really rectify that. Like, it is just, some people are literally just demons in human clothing, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of cultural background, regardless of anything. It's just, I don't know. Some people are just like that. Because I'm looking at the childhood and I'm just like, you had chances. You more than anyone, you had chances. And you chose to go down this path. Like, you went to Howard University and you dropped out willingly. At least to my knowledge, that's what it seemed like in the documentary. He dropped out willingly. Like, you had chances. Your family had money. Your family had influence. You were an affluent young man. And you had mentors. There are some people who do not even have mentors to guide them on their path. You had all of that. And yet, this is the end result. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm not even sure if this video makes sense. I don't know if I'm going to edit this or not. I'm just so confused. If this is what power is, I don't want it. And I know this is not what power is, all right? I know there's dark power and light power and whatever he's exuding. There's definitely like entitlement, greed, wanting to be the most powerful man on earth, which he's not the only one who's ever had that desire before. And not everyone turns like him. Like, there are a lot of people who want to be the most powerful men on earth, and they are kind and still generous to their people. Listen, they may not be kind to other people, but they will be kind and generous to their people. And watching the documentary, it was very traumatizing. It was very jarring, the way that God was always used as an excuse for behavior, and everyone would just buy it. Whenever he says God, for some reason people believe it. And the fact that everyone is like, he's a gatekeeper, he's the gatekeeper. Before he got into the industry, was Andre not the gatekeeper? This documentary was very enlightening and confusing at the same time. And I guess it's a good thing, at least for me. If Andre was the gatekeeper and this evil little boy, okay, maybe he was not evil at that time, got into his good grace, right? And he now became the gatekeeper and he's blocking everyone from being successful. Why would you not go around? Gates are meant to be broken either through the front, the back, or the side. Like, you don't have to go through the front door. After watching this documentary, I learned a lot. And the main lesson was, maybe success should not be accomplished at a young age. There's a lot of stuff at play here where some people believe like they need to rise to the top in their 20s or in their teens. But like, can we give a hand of applause for delayed success? People who are successful in their 40s, 50s, 60s, late 30s, because I feel like early 30s, you're still young. There's even a reward under the name of Forbes 30 under 30 for people who have amassed a lot of wealth or influence in their young years. But let's be honest, science has already told your brain has not finished developing till you're 25. Do you really need to be successful at 19 where you don't know everything? And trust me, I've been 19 before. I thought I knew everything. As I grew much older, I realized I don't know ish. This does not mean I literally don't know ish, but it means there's still much more to learn. And what I thought I knew was not always that way. There's a bit more nuance to life. And maybe rushing to be successful at a young age is not it. Because the reason why a lot of people did not say anything, they closed their mouth, they just went along to get along, was because, well, he's paying their bills and he has their career in their hands. If they want to be successful, they're going to listen to what this man is saying. However, I feel like had they waited and had they really known who they are as a person, and unfortunately, it takes time to know who you are as a person. I don't believe you can fully know yourself in your 20s. Maybe it's because I didn't know myself in my 20s. If you're one of the lucky 20-year-olds who knows yourself, I'm going to wait till you're 30 to really know if you knew yourself. I thought I knew myself. I did not know myself in my 20s. But it wasn't until I got much older and I'm like, okay, Actually, I'm more like this. And I feel like if our society did not always pressure us to accomplish these big feats at a young age, this would not have happened. I don't know. I have a lot of unrectified feelings about this documentary. Like, in the same breath that it is disgusting, like, it also piqued my curiosity in a way that I was like, I'm still learning. Like, I'm telling y'all, I'm still learning. And even after doing this research about how these energies perform on the world and the journey they take, I'm still like, I don't know how this man turned dark. Nothing in his childhood background, and yes, the documentary is not going to give us every single nuance that has happened during his childhood, but nothing in there looked dramatic enough or catastrophic enough to be like, I could see how this is the turning point, or I could see how a accumulation of this, and this resulted in that. Yes, lives were lost during that charity basketball event, but I'm still like, is that enough to make someone turn dark? I don't know. I'm confused. But more of the story is, I believe there are some demons in human clothing. I strongly believe that. Just like the saying goes, a wolf in sheep clothing, I believe there's some demons in human clothing. I don't think you need to be successful in your early years for your life to have value. You can have value at any stage in your life. This is what I believe. Clearly, our society says your network equals your value. The fact that this man was sentenced for 50 months is very telling about what our society deems as valuable. More of the story is, if you are not yet successful, keyword yet, and you feel like you are a late bloomer or you have not reached your peak yet, you are following your own timeline. You're not following society's timeline. That's perfectly fine. Because in trying to rush the process, fast track the process, Amazon Prime the process, you might come across a demon in human clothing like Diddy, who's going to promise you the world and take the little joy you have. And it's just so sad. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't really talk about in the video is mimicking. Mimicking is the first manipulation tactic. This is the same thing that happened in that Danish deception girly thing, where she was talking about how she's a real estate agent. The scamming Danish prince told her about his real estate properties. He was mimicking her to show, hey, we are alike. And mimicking works because most of us believe at our core that we are a good person. And when we see a person exhibit traits or interests that we are into, we also assign this quote unquote goodness to them. And mimicking happens in a lot of ways. It's not just you telling someone you like the same thing you do. It can also be feelings and expression. This usually happens in the course of a fight. This is why they say whenever someone is arguing with you, you don't argue back. Because when you see two people arguing, you might think, okay, both of them are in the wrong. Whereas when you see one person just yelling and screaming at another person and the other person is just listening, they look maybe even shocked, you will most likely identify with the person who is shocked because that is what you're feeling at that time. Even though the quiet person might have been the instigator and the one who started it all. You don't know, but you will relate more to the quiet person who is being yelled at compared to the loud person, just because the way you're feeling at this point in time is closely aligned to the feelings that you're seeing that other person exhibit. An even better example of this, I just thought about this, is that slap thing that happened at the Oscars, where Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And during that whole thing, people were shocked that this happened. And when Will Smith sat down, the camera panned to him. You could see Lupita looking shocked in the background. And during that time, a lot of people were like, Lupita's me, Lupita's me, Lupita's me. That is because she was exhibiting the feeling that everyone else was exhibiting at that time, which is of shock. So they started identifying with Lupita because of feelings. Now, how does this tie to Diddy? If you go back to the documentary, a juror said, she paraphrased it, she said something along the line of Capricorn Clark was testifying that she was kidnapped. She found this a little hard to believe and may have, just made an expression that's of confusion. And Diddy turned to her, made that similar expression of confusion. She later stated maybe everything Capricorn was saying was not true. This is classic emotional mimicry. Because her feelings of confusion is in line with his, she's now doubting Capricorn Clark's story when that might not necessarily be true. Listen, a lot of people believe our world is fair. We live in a just world. We do not. Okay, guys? Yes, there are times where things may seem a bit far-fetched, but we have seen The Handmaid's Tale. Every single thing in that book and in that series has happened in real life. There is no limit to the evilness that happens in the world. But for some reason, when a grown woman says she has been kidnapped, we find that hard to believe. Why is that hard to believe? When the juror actually said that, I was like, oh my goodness. This man is a master manipulator to the point he is going to mimic your emotion in real life. And obviously, it was something that resonated with her to the point she remembered it during the documentary. I'm like, so the jurors were actually being manipulated in real life. And to this day, they don't know they were being manipulated because it was facial mimicry. And the fact that this had a lasting impact in this juror's mind is leading me to believe more happened in that courtroom that we don't know. This is leading me to believe that the majority of the jurors were actually being manipulated in real time by facial expression. And obviously, you can't control someone's facial expression. It just happens. Those are just one of those things that happen. But when you're a manipulator, you can definitely control that. If you can control the narrative and what people say about you, you don't think a manipulator is going to control their facial expression? Like, come on. Please, let's be for real. So when I heard that, I was just like, most of the jurors were being manipulated and they probably don't even know they were being manipulated. This is wild and this is crazy, which is leading me to believe if anyone still trusts this man for some reason, you're a psycho. I'm sorry. You are not that far from him. I'm not going to say you're a complete demon like he is, but baby, honey, darling, you are not that far off. But anyways, that is just what I wanted to say about that because I found that very interesting. Most of these jurors were actually being manipulated, but they were not aware of it because it just seems so natural that you would be confused at a grown woman being kidnapped when a lot of adults have been kidnapped. It's actually not that far-fetched. All right, back to the video. If you have any thoughts you want to share, please let me know in the comment section below. What did you think of the documentary? I know I only focused on his childhood. I didn't do justice to the survivors. They are survivors. And this is because for me, I completely believe those survivors. I don't think it is something that needs to be doubted. For me, it is the truth. I believe every single one of those women when they come around and say, this is what happened to me. This was because of coercion. This was because of blackmailing, blah, blah, blah. I believe it. Because looking at this man's energy, it's giving me control, and I want to exert power on you. So I believe it. So don't feel like I'm not talking about them because I'm dismissing them. The reason why I'm not talking about it is because I actually believe it. I don't really think there needs to be discourse about something like this. It's like, why are we discussing water being wet? Well, duh. That's my take on that. And I just wanted to focus on his childhood a little bit more to kind of explain how this may have came about. But even in doing that, it's like, I don't feel like there was a lot of stuff in his childhood that may have turned him to the dark side. Which is why I'm like, is it something that is innate? It was just waiting to come out? or is this something that was cultivated and nurtured? I don't know. I'm confused. Please let me know in the comment section below. Do you think he is just a dark, demonic spirit who is a demon in human clothing, as I've said multiple times throughout this video? Or do you think there was something deeper in his childhood that we may not have seen in the documentary that can shed some light on how he was nurtured into becoming this demon? Okay, just demon. Yeah, so please just let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. And lastly, if you feel like you are a late bloomer, you're not where you need to be there, you're on your own time. You're not on society's time, because clearly, if you follow society's time frame, unfortunately, you might come across a demon in human clothing such as this man. Let's be grateful for where we are and still strive for being successful and ambitious. But yeah, please let me know what you thought of this, and I'll see you next week. Bye.